Alright. Hello. Is this too dark? Sorry. Is this too dark? Is this too bright? Is this too much? It doesn't matter. I guess that kind of leads into the topic that I wanted to talk about today anyway. I've been doing these for a couple days now. And honestly, I didn't really have like any sort of goal when I started, I just wanted to make stuff and talk and put myself out there, I guess, a little bit. I mean, I want to, my big dream or goal is to be a writer and a personal trainer. Those are the things that I have found or that are interesting to me, at least, and that I think are fun and enjoyable and very meaningful, right? I think those are very meaningful things. Careers to pursue, I suppose. But I I've sort of just I've fallen in love with the reflection that this allows me to have. I oftentimes will talk to myself a lot, whether it's while I'm driving. I'm a DoorDash driver by day, not very glamorous by any means, but it gives me a lot of time to sit and to think and to talk to myself. And I think that's a really good thing, but oftentimes I can kind of overdo it. And I I think this is a good way for me to sort of expand upon a lot of the ideas that I get, which oftentimes are just fragmented and sort of come in as just thoughts and ideas that maybe I don't necessarily always have the perfect amount of time to sit and to analyze and go over. Sorry, I literally just ate a fucking Pop Tart and it's just sticking to the inside of my mouth. Hold up, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't do this. Okay. I'm sorry, that will probably be the only interruption. But this doesn't need to be perfect anyway. And it can't be. Nothing is perfect, doesn't exist. And maybe that's what makes something perfect. It is just that it exists. You know what I mean? Um, what I wanted to talk about today, or expand upon, was a few different things, but really, it's sort of just about reality, which is something that sort of bugs me, itches this part of my brain that makes me a little scared, makes me a little anxious, just as a human being, the fleshly creature animal that I am. Sometimes when I get a little overwhelmed by reality, I can get very anxious, and I'll find myself, for example, last year I got into this mode where I was studying a ton of like theology and metaphysics and religion and all these things, and it got to the point where I like couldn't even properly um like have a solid grasp on reality, like I felt like everything in my life was so impermanent and useless and just had no meaning to it. And I would try to find comfort in God. I would try to find comfort in prayer, and in some ways that only sort of made it worse because I was just trying to put my faith in something that was pushing me deeper into this fear that I had. And now I still, I just recently became a Christian about almost 2 years ago now, and I became it through my studies in metaphysics and theology and religion and all these things. And that's a very broad or very like in-depth topic that we can have at another day. But yeah, learning all about that really tripped me up about reality, and I think it was really just the fact that there isn't like, I guess I never latched on to a super like I never became part of a denomination. I'm currently non-denominational, and I think that that really sucked in a small amount, because I like that I'm non-denominational. I've thought about joining a lot of different denominations. Haven't really decided on anything concrete at all. But I it sucked a little bit because it meant I had a mishmash of all of these different Christian theological ideas that I was getting hit with. And so a lot of them were, pretty woo-woo, pretty out there. And so it gave me a hard time like feeling connected to reality, right? And yeah, that was just something I struggled with a lot last year, and I remember just sitting on the floor of my bedroom, this room, and just like thinking like just not being able to latch on to anything and feeling like everything was falling away and falling apart, like my life was useless. And it was a very like the best term I could use to describe would be psychedelic experience, where I became almost like hyper aware of, dude, like how I am right now looking at my fucking hair, or freaking hair. um God, it looks whatever. I'm just gonna ignore it the best I can. Anyways, I became like hyper aware of the reality around me, and all of the little small things started to bug me and get to me. And it brought me back to a time in my life in which I was seeing like how in depth social interaction kind of is. And when we partake in social interaction, just how layered everything is, and that shit is scary, especially when you're at different sort of places with all of the people you're in a room with. It can be hard, right? Because it just adds more and more layers, and especially when you don't necessarily know if you can be like real or authentic or yourself with some of these people. um yeah, those sort of dynamics, and just the absurdity of it, it got to me a lot, and it still does. I find myself sometimes, usually when I'm already in like a really like depleted state, so like after like a bunch of really hard workouts or whatever, if I'm in like a big calorie deficit, or even if I eat too much too, I can also see it. If I eat too much and I got too much blood pulled out of my brain or whatever, and in my digestion, the smallest little things can push me into like over the edge. Once everything's piled up, it can push me over the edge into this point where I'm looking at everything and just feeling the weight of it all, feeling the weight of every decision around me, feeling the weight of just everything. And it just feels like so much, and it's so heavy and so scary. And when I'm in that mode, it's like I try to ground myself and stay in that moment, but that is when all of the anxiety appears, is it's over that present moment. It's a very difficult thing to deal with, and it's very scary, and it can lead me to a lot of bad thoughts, wanting it to be done, wanting it to be over with, or just be away with it, wanting it not to occur, because it really is. It's scary, and I don't know if I've properly described what it even feels like. It really feels like I'm hyper aware of all of the social interactions around me and all of the layers of everything occurring, and it's like a it's like everything, every asset that makes up our reality, how complicated everything has become, and every social interaction that I have, every relationship I have with the people around me, it all piles on at once, and it feels suffocating, and like I just want to run away, but at the same time I just want to hug. And it's just this terrible anxious feeling, and it's very, very scary. Even thinking about it now makes me a little upset, honestly. um yeah, I don't exactly know what that's all about. And that is the topic for today. Is I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if that's just like a panic attack and that's what I'm having or what. Yeah, I don't know. But it's scary, and I try to avoid it by not pushing myself too hard and making sure I'm recovering properly, which is difficult sometimes, but we do what we can do. Um, and I'm always learning about how to make it better. What do I think it is? I mean, I don't know. I know it's scary and I don't want to do it. It makes me very anxious. That's the best way I can describe it. It's just a supreme amount of anxiety that is very crushing and very horrifying. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's really just before when I was afraid about the like impermanence stuff when I was, about a year ago, worried a lot about that and about reality being not so concrete. What I did was I learned about actual physics and quantum mechanics, and that was what sort of gave me. It was actually very cool because it strengthened my belief in God. Because learning about the science of how our reality is made at the quantum level is really fucking cool, and I totally recommend anybody to do it. Really cool, and it shows a deep ordering and layering of the universe that is just so perfect that it really doesn't, in my opinion, make a lot of sense that it wasn't meticulously handcrafted and made to be this way. It's so astronomically impossible from everything we understand about like percentages or what's the freaking word? Analytics, I guess. Analytically, probability wise, statistically, it doesn't make any sense, and I think Occam's razor. It's the most likely outcome is probably that there's a God who made it all and who loves us and all these things, right? And that's a big thing in metaphysics too, is just the understanding of God. Anyways, like I said, that's a topic for another video. But it was actually learning about that and learning about all of that that actually grounded me in reality. And so I don't really struggle with that so much anymore. I don't really struggle with that like existential dread kind of feeling of the impermanence of stuff because I know, no matter what, we've never had a case of two objects going straight through each other. I can do this against my hand as many times as I want, and it's gonna go there. We have science, we have science, we have truth, we have facts, and they don't really let us down. I can bang on my table, I can tap my phone, and everything's gonna be okay. So um, yeah, that really helped then. But this is a sort of different kind of feeling because it's being hyper aware of just the layeredness of reality, about all of the decisions that we make, and about how they affect us, and all of these things. So one of the things I've been doing to cope with this and avoid it is by sort of letting go of it. Letting go of any idea I have about perfection. Letting go of any idea I have about things supposing to be a certain way or anything like that. Any preconceived notions I have, I'm trying to get rid of them and just live as though everything is already perfect. And I think that's the healthiest way to do it, not as if everything is genuinely perfect, because there's a lot of change we can make in the world. It's very important and needs to be done. But that everything that has already happened or is currently existing, everything, I am perfect. I'm okay. I don't need to be anything other than what I am right now, and that's okay. And I'm still loved, and it's okay. This moment I'm in right now, it's perfect. It couldn't be any better. And that's sort of where I'm trying to put myself at mentally, which I think is genuinely just, I think it's the truth. Like, um, you know, all we have is this moment, and all we have is reality, and trying to plaster a, like, what's the word, idea on top of it, an idealistic, "Oh, what could I be doing right now that would be better?" I'm sorry, one second. Sorry. Trying to plaster an idea on top of that and say, this, I want this to be this way, and if it was only this way, it would be this, it would be so good. It would be, no. If it doesn't exist, if it's not here yet, and you're trying to force it to be that way, I just don't think it's going to work out, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. I'm thinking about relationships. I'm thinking about girls I've liked and how I've wanted them to like me back. And I just would think to myself, if only they liked me back, everything would be good. It would be good. Everything would be fine, and we could be together, and it would be beautiful, and all these things. And I would, every time I would, hang out with these girls or whatever, spend time with them, I would be sitting and thinking about, you know, what could I do to make that happen? What could I do to do this, this, and that? What could I do to get us closer? What could blah, blah, blah? And it would end up stealing away a lot, possibly a lot, of the genuine connection I could have had with those people, because I was so focused on this outcome that was just probably never going to happen in the first place anyway. This just fake idea that I had, this expectation that I had, that's what I was looking for, expectation. This expectation that I had, that I wanted it to be this certain way, and now that it's not, I'm going to be very upset. I think that ruins a lot of things. And so, do I think the panic is part of that? It could be. It's another way I'm trying to combat against it, because I think it is probably a multifaceted issue, right? Um, yeah, so I'm trying to just tackle all the parts that I think might be pushing me into that. And I'm trying to think, now currently that I'm in a level-headed state, like, how can I, what is it like to be put back into that? And all I can think is fear, anxiety, blah blah blah. Like I said earlier, like, it's just that's all that consumes my thoughts when I think about it. And all I can really say is that it feels like that seeing of the layers of social interaction. It's very odd, very odd. And part of it is like reading people and trying to understand them and their body language and what's going on in their heads. It's an over being like hyper fixated on that, I guess. More fixated on that than I should be. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's a little scary. I'm trying to combat it, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think social interaction is actually really cool, and I think the way reality is sort of layered. And when I say layered, I mean, like, it's hard to give an example, but like, I am in this room right now, and I'm existing. Okay, cool. Well, another layer on top of that is I've got music playing in the background, and another layer on top of that is that I've got my phone recording, and another layer on top of that is that I have my water right here, and all of these things interact and layer on top of each other to create more environmental stimuli, right? There's more that's going on, more that you need to be aware of. And when you're around other people, they're the most ultimate, like, wild card of all time, right? Because they could be thinking or doing anything or feeling anything. And so I think that's kind of part of it. And I think when I get in that more depleted state, it it makes it so that I'm not able to handle all that kind of stimuli all at once, especially if I have those ideas of like expectations burrowing into my freaking mind and painting my worldview. It's going to be hard to deal with all of that at once. And so I was thinking yesterday about like, okay, just a thought came to me naturally as I was thinking about this of like the similar topic of thinking about when I'm in nature. So I like to go on a lot of hikes, and I like to go on a lot of walks too. Walking is like my favorite thing, one of my favorite things to do. Top like 5 thing favorite. Love walks. When I'm out walking, or I'm out on a hike or anything like that, there are very few things that you need to worry about. Your body's moving, which is of course good for your mental state in so many different ways. You're out in nature if you're on a hike or even on a walk. I live in a small town, so it's kind of it's not the worst environment to walk around in, right? And there's very few things that are like distracting. There's cars on the street, or maybe a person walks by every now and then. Other than that, it's just me. And I can handle being alone with me. I can handle that. I like being alone with my own thoughts, honestly. Um, I enjoy it. It leads to me getting a lot of this kind of thinking in, which I enjoy, obviously, as you can probably tell. And yeah, things like that, where it just strips away all of the layers of like, oh, do I have to deal with another person's thoughts or actions or expectations? Yeah, and it can be other people's expectations on you too, which are also, twofold. Like it's your expectation of what are their expectations for me, and it's like, it's so much, and it's so much weight and so much pressure. And yeah, especially when you start adding in your own expectation, like, oh, should I be socializing with them? Should I be doing this? Should we be doing something right now? No, 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 you don't need to do anything. Reality's already good as it is. You're with people. That's good. That's awesome. That's all that you need to be. Um, and everything will come from there. As soon as you let go of all of those expectations, all of those ideas, and start to just be yourself a little more, whatever that means, which I think is a topic for another day. Being yourself. I don't know why I'm so freaking sniffly. Oh, I did interact with my best friend. He has cats. I was over at his house earlier today. I'm allergic to cats. Maybe that's what it is. Anyways, I think that's pretty much about what I wanted to talk about. We are 22 minutes in. These just keep getting longer and longer. I'm sorry. I'll try to make more concise stuff too. And yeah, so thank you for listening or watching. I hope you have a beautiful and wonderful rest of your day. And thank you. Goodbye.